Hi, hello, welcome to my channel Thiru the English Guru.
Hey everyone, and welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're here for today's explainer. We're going to be unpacking a truly beautiful, yet kind of complex story called The Potmaker. This is a narrative that really digs into the intense journey of finding your true path, against all odds. It's a story about deep-rooted tradition, incredible resilience, and just this fiery passion of a young woman who is literally determined to forge her own destiny with her own two hands. Okay, let's dive into this. Is it better to choose passion or practicality? I mean, it's the ultimate modern career dilemma, right? We face this all the time today. Do you take that safe, well-paying corporate job, or do you follow that wild, creative dream that might, barely pay the rent? Well, as we're going to see, this isn't just some modern question. It's the exact same dilemma right at the heart of our story, set in a place where the stakes of making that choice are incredibly high. But before we actually meet our characters, we absolutely have to talk about the brilliant mind behind this narrative, Temsula Ao. Living from 1945 to 2022, she was a celebrated Naga writer, poet, and ethnographer. She actually won the Padma Shri and the Sahitya Academy Award, which is a massive deal. And what made her work so powerful is exactly how she documented Naga oral traditions through fiction. She was just a master at exploring that incredibly delicate balance between holding on to ancient traditions and facing the undeniable wave of modern change. Section 1. Characters and conflict, the mother-daughter divide. Let's get right into our main narrative by setting up the central conflict taking place in a traditional village in Nagaland. To really understand this divide, I want you to imagine hauling clay from riverbanks 16 kilometers away just to bring it back to a village dormitory. In this unforgiving setting, the battle lines are firmly drawn. So on one side, we have the mother, Arnula. She's an expert potter herself, but she explicitly opposes her daughter following in her footsteps. Why? Well, because she wants Scintilla to learn weaving, since that brings a handsome return, a pretty good profit. But on the other side is our determined protagonist, Scintilla. She honestly couldn't care less about the money. Her absolute dream is pottery, a craft that her own mother describes as back-breaking labor. Let's really look at the reality of Scintilla's choice here. She is actively fighting for a life that involves the relentless, tedious task of pounding clay in bamboo cylinders just to make it soft. And for what? For a pittance, a remarkably tiny amount of money. But Scintilla isn't deterred in the slightest. This highlights a massive theme in the story, the dignity of labor. You see, Scintilla is choosing spiritual fulfillment and ancestral connection over making easy money. Section 2. The plot, a journey of pounding and patience. Let's trace Scintilla's emotional journey to show that true mastery definitely isn't just an overnight success. And this brilliantly illustrates that mastery is a grueling marathon, not a sprint. Look at this timeline. Year 1 begins with the dream. Scintilla is hiding in the shadows, secretly watching the potters, just aspiring to learn. Year 2 brings the conflict out into the open because Arenla actively opposes her. By year 3, Scintilla finally gets her chance, but she fails for an entire year until guidance arrives. And finally, in year 4, we reach mastery. It's a multi-year ordeal of failure before she ever even catches a glimpse of success. So, you might be wondering, who provides that crucial guidance in year 3? Enter Anula, the dormitory caretaker. While Arenla is the biological mother, Anula steps up to become the true teacher. You see, Scintilla was failing, but not because she didn't have the hands for pottery. It was because she was totally paralyzed by the immense pressure of her mother's disapproval. Anula is the mentor who figures out that Scintilla's struggle is purely caused by internal tension, not a lack of actual skill. Section 3. The breakthrough, finding the rhythm. Things are about to pick up now as we explore how Anula teaches Scintilla to relax and finally find her flow. Once Anula steps in, the whole energy completely shifts. She teaches Scintilla to breathe and just release that internal pressure. Let's break down the mechanics of this for a second. To be a pot maker requires immense dexterity, that incredibly precise, delicate skill of the hands. Scintilla finally learns how to properly wield the spatula, which is the flat-bladed tool used to shape the rotating clay. And as she relaxes, she doesn't just gain skill, she gains serious momentum. I absolutely love this quote from the text, like a sprinter who had suddenly found momentum. It's such a powerful, vivid simile, right? It perfectly describes that exact magical breakthrough speed. All that pent-up energy, all those years of secret observation and incredibly frustrating failure, they all suddenly align. She finds her flow, her rhythm, and her absolute confidence in the craft. She finally finds her momentum. Section 4. Themes of Cultural Heritage. Beyond the Clay. Now, let's shift our focus to the deeper meaning of the story and what it really teaches us about societal duty. Temsula Ao isn't just writing about making bowls here, she's writing a profound commentary on societal duty. We've talked about perseverance, but consider cultural heritage as a communal duty. In this Naga village, ancestral crafts literally define identity. They are not private hobbies you just do in your garage on a Sunday afternoon. There is immense societal pressure to ensure these traditional arts do not die out. And underneath it all is that complex mother-daughter bond, which is a legacy transferred through silent observation and a shared, grueling struggle. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the story explicitly states that skills belong to the community. Think about that cultural contrast for a second. We live in an era of intellectual property, patents, copyrights, and intense individualism. Basically, I made this, it's mine. But this Naga philosophy challenges that completely. It asks us to consider, what do we actually owe our community? Are our talents solely for our own personal profit, or are we custodians of a shared heritage? Section 5. The Climax and Legacy. The Price of Mastery. It's time to bring our narrative to its highly emotional and honestly pretty bittersweet conclusion. A new potmaker was born. This concluding line is just so heavy with significance. Scintilla finally works alone, and she creates 2 identical rows of perfect pots. Those identical rows are deeply symbolic. They prove without a doubt that Scintilla has finally met her mother's incredibly high standard. And not just in her physical dexterity, but in her spirit and her unyielding dedication to the craft. But the climax hits us with a pretty devastating twist. On the very same day that Scintilla successfully crafts those perfect rows of pots, finally proving her ultimate mastery, her mother, Layla, passes away. It's heartbreaking, but it signifies the true continuity of their heritage. The torch hasn't just been passed, the previous bearer has stepped off the stage completely, leaving Scintilla alone to carry the fire forward for the next generation. So, what does this all mean for us today? Well, in our fast-moving world of tech, AI, and instant gratification, these traditional crafts remind us of the immense value of patience and dedication. True success requires unwavering passion, the humility to accept guidance, and the resilience to push through failure. It encourages every single one of us to find our rhythm, that state of flow and purpose, in whatever challenging path we choose to take. I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. The story ends with a row of perfect pots and a dead mother. So, is this a triumph of the human spirits or a deep tragedy of timing? Does true mastery always demand some kind of profound sacrifice? Think about the legacies you are building in your own life and what you might be giving up to achieve them.